Holy smokes, it has been a minute since I have done a live stream by myself. But I felt like it was only fitting. Honestly, I miss chatting with everybody. So I was like, you know what? We are going to do a spontaneous live stream. NBA trade deadline just ending. It's like everybody is sitting at their phones or computers being like, hey, Calvin Booth, are you gonna do anything? We're seeing guys getting traded left and right. I feel like the NBA has taken over the entire week, even though it is Super Bowl week. So I feel like there's just a ton to dive into. I'm so curious. Nuggets Nation, how are you feeling that the Nuggets don't make any moves at the trade deadline? Is the Jokic era going to waste? Do they just need to find their identity of who they are as a team? What are you thinking of the new lineups that we've been seeing recently? I'm just like so curious. Yeah, like SportsCenter just now putting out the Suns are not moving Kevin Durant. I know that was something that a lot of Nuggets fans were really hopeful. I miss you guys. Please let me know in the comments. Again, I just really wanted to do a spontaneous stream today. I was like, you know what? We have the time. Sean Payton yesterday was just blabbing away on everything happening at the Super Bowl. So there was a ton to get into. If you've been tuning in every single Wednesday night as well, just know I appreciate you. DMAC and I have been doing Cocktail Hour, which has been an absolute blast. We've been having so much fun. Throughout the Broncos season, we tried different drinks and did all sorts of stuff. And then we've just been chatting. And I feel like so many conversations have come out on it. So yeah, how are we feeling? I feel like I'm just going to keep refreshing my phone because everybody is freaking out about this NBA trade deadline and the fact that the Nuggets didn't do anything. They just stand pat. I'm like, wait a second. Aren't you supposed to, if you have the greatest player on earth, aren't you supposed to be bringing in all of these people? And does that mean that it's coaching? Like, what does this mean for the Denver Nuggets? You have all this talent. You have Jamal Murray. You have Michael Porter Jr., who has been playing absolutely lights out of his mind recently. You have Nikola Jokic, obviously, Christian Brown, Russell Westbrook. Julian Strawther is becoming one in his own. I feel like it's been great to see him. But yet, it just feels like things aren't always clicking. So does that come down to coaching, or does it have to do with, the players? Are they not buying in? Are they just keeping it in the gas and waiting for the playoffs, and then all of a sudden they're just going to turn it on? I find it fascinating. I know people are really frustrated the fact that they didn't make a move. What do you feel like is missing from this Denver Nuggets squad? You guys, I want to be so honest. I have missed talking with everybody daily. It's been so weird. It's been almost 3 months since the fan and I separated, which is crazy to even think about. And so much has happened in that time. And, just being able to sit and chit chat with all of you every single day, that's the best part of what I get to do, is connecting with all of you guys. And I've just missed it. I'm like, maybe we'll do some other spontaneous streams a little more often. It just feels so normal, yet also so weird. I've had a blast with DMAC. Obviously, he cracks me up all the time. And I feel like we're just talking about anything and everything. And the different, outlooks that we have on different things is also hysterical to me. But it's just kind of crazy how long it's been since we were doing this every single day. And I'm just curious how all of you guys are. So yeah, I'm like, holy smokes. Also, can we talk about Kay Adams at the Super Bowl? She has had every single person and their mother on. I swear. It's been actually insane. I'm curious if Bo Nix is going to go out. We've seen a lot of different players. Alex Singleton's out there. I believe Pat Surtain might be out there. I guess for the honors, he probably will be tonight for sure. I saw Champ Bailey's out there. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Right there. Yeah, I saw him. He's out there. I feel like there's been a ton of Broncos, obviously Sean Payton, and everybody freaking out over the photo of Sean Payton was just cracking me up. It's been so funny. You guys have to realize, Sean's actually a really cool guy. He went to Cabo with his 3 quarterbacks and Sean McVay. Sean Payton is kind of cool. I want to have a sit down with his daughter because I'm just so curious. What was it like growing up with Sean Payton as your dad? Is he a super strict person, right? I feel for all of the players, he's really strict. But I'm just really curious on where everything sits and how that was growing up. And, was he around a lot too? Football's such a demanding job. Was he around a lot, or was it mostly just their mom? I'm just so curious about all that kind of stuff. But he's a cool guy, right? Players seem to have a lot of respect for him. And he is just living it up in New Orleans, having the best time because he is, quote unquote, the king of New Orleans. And I don't know. It's just so funny and interesting to see. I'm just Sean Payton, he is one of a kind. And yeah, I don't know. I really wish I was out at the Super Bowl. I think I have my Super Bowl credential. It might be back there. I've got so many credentials. I've even got more over on this side. But I had so much fun when we went to the Super Bowl in Phoenix. The thing is a lot of people go out to Media Row and they don't actually go to the Super Bowl because you end up sitting in like the garage of the stadium because there's not that much seating in the press box. Also, can we just talk? Booth sucks. How frustrated are we about the Nuggets, everyone? How frustrated? Are we angry? Are we mad that they didn't make any moves? Who do you think really, though, makes all of the calls? Do you think it's Calvin Booth or do you think it's the Cronkies? That's where I feel like Calvin Booth gets a lot of the hate, but I really wonder if the Cronkies make a lot of those decisions too. Let me see if there's any other information that's come out on Twitter. I feel like there's just been a ton that, last second moves, right? Magic didn't make any trade deadlines. I love how everybody's just pointing out the fact that the Nuggets have just traded away veteran players left and right after all of the championship, everything, and yet it feels like they're not adding anything. I do wonder how much the Cronkies have a say in what happens with the Nuggets. We know for Josh Kroenke, the Nuggets are like his babies. So I'm a little curious on how that front is going, but it's just so unique to like this Jokic era has been so unique, right? It was the buildup all for the championship. And then it was like, they can keep this core together. They could go on to win 2 or 3 championships, first round exits. And you're like, okay, what's going to happen now? And then KCP exits and you're like, well, wait a second. Here goes a lot of this core. I don't know. But didn't the Nuggets make a lot of moves during the offseason? They obviously brought in Russell Westbrook, which was a big move, and I really liked it. I was totally not on board for Russell Westbrook coming to the Nuggets. I remember vividly, I was at a golf club. We were doing like a sponsorship, and somebody had asked me in the comments, like, how would you feel about Russell Westbrook coming to the Nuggets? And I quite literally said, I don't like it. I think he's a bit of a washed player. I think that you can see what's happening with Los Angeles. And now I'm just wondering if Los Angeles and the Lakers are a bit like a cuckoo machine and things just don't work out because everybody that talks about Russell Westbrook loves Russell Westbrook. Him here, even when he just came in for media days, I love how he made just such an apparent thing to be like, I'm not here to take anybody's spot, but I'm here to push Jamal Murray to be better. And now to see him and Jamal sharing the court, I think it's really cool. That lineup they did that was was it MPJ or Aaron Gordon? One way or another, because I know Gordon's been dealing with some injuries. It was MPJ, Westbrook, Jamal, Jokic. And I just thought that it was such an interesting lineup that so many of us have been wanting to see. And then, of course, we see just different rotations. But I was not a fan of Russell Westbrook coming to the Nuggets. And now I'm so happy he did. So, yeah, they definitely made some. I feel like they've never – I'm trying to think back of the last time that the Nuggets did make a move at the trade deadline. And it feels like it's been a really, really long time. Yeah, I truthfully can't think of anything. And it's how many pieces can you add into the mix, right? Of how many times can you change up things? There is a sort of thing with chemistry. There's, building blocks for chemistry. And if you all of a sudden go on to continuously change that, how can those guys build? I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's players. I just don't know what it is, but there clearly seems to be some stuff going on behind the scenes and maybe they just couldn't get a good deal, right? We're sitting here talking about the Jokic era being over here in the next 2 or 3 years. Maybe the Nuggets are sitting here thinking that they have 4 or 5 years. Maybe behind the scenes, Jokic has been no, I'm going to play for 4 or 5 years. I personally don't think that. I think he's not going to play for very long, especially if they're getting bounced early in the playoffs, which would be tragic. Tragic. I even said with the Luka trade, my whole joke was, okay, so the NBA wants LeBron to retire for winning a championship. So that's why that whole thing was so hush-hush. It still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think it makes sense to quite literally anyone, but it definitely doesn't make any sense of why nobody else would know that they were going to move Luka. And I cannot believe he bought a $15 million house 1 week prior. I would be calling up the Mavs and being like, screw you. You absolutely owe me because I just paid $15 million for this house 1 week ago. Can we please figure out something else or you're taking over that $15 million? I'd be furious. And the process of buying a house already isn't easy, so I'd just be so pissed off. But feels like everybody's just kind of in shock that there's, nothing happening. They didn't do anything. I'm looking one more time. Yeah, no moves by the Nuggets at the trade deadline. But I'm like, did they try? That's what the information we need to find out. The beat reporters that are on it, we need you to find out. Did they at least try? Were they in conversations with absolutely anybody? I saw that Bones Highland got moved down to Atlanta, a name that Nuggets Nation is obviously very familiar with. He's got moved a bunch. And I don't know, did Bruce Brown, I know that they were talking about him possibly getting moving. I haven't seen anything on that, but there was quite a few names that were looking to get moved, and then the Nuggets play the Magic tonight. KCP is back in town, which is fun. He was one of my favorite players. Like, he was a really cool guy. He's actually the one that, right there. This is from the Nuggets championship locker room. KCP is the one that just handed me this Michelob Ultra and was just like, here you go, as I was like in the locker room getting sound from a lot of those guys, right? It was just like a big championship moment. And he's the one that handed this to me. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. So this will never get opened. If only I could have had them sign it. That's probably the one big bummer about working in sports. It's like, you don't ask for autographs or anything, but like, how cool would it be to have them all autograph this and be able to keep it? It's probably like the one big bummer that you've got. But he said, I think Bruce Brown went to the Pelicans, so he did get moved. So that's interesting as well. That championship locker room was just so fun. Oh, look, it's telling me that I'm live on my own Twitter. Like, thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know that. I really do appreciate it. And it looks like now, oh my gosh. That's actually kind of crazy. A Kansas City sports reporter died in New Orleans. I'm like, wait, no. Okay, so Bruce Brown did go to the Pelicans. So yeah, thank you guys for all of that. I had not seen that. I feel like, I don't know. I've been watching the blockbuster trades, and that's where I've really been like putting all of my attention. And then with the Super Bowl too, I've been paying a lot of attention to that and what the Denver Bronco players are saying and all of that kind of jazz. We were talking about Media Row a little bit ago, and Sean Payton just cracked me up. And everybody's like, Kay Adams can just get him to open up. I'm like, that's her superpower. She does that with everybody. But she had like 11 quarterbacks on her show today. I'm like, that's actually insanity. And they just rotate them out. Like, at the end of her show, she has to be just like mentally exhausted and be like, I'm done. I can't do it. I need to go take a nap. Like, I am over. Still having like a little bit of coffee from this morning. Okay, so we're mad at Calvin Booth. I see that in the comments. How are you guys feeling about the Super Bowl? Who are you taking? Are you taking the Chiefs to complete the three-peat? If that happens, I think that Travis Kelce is going to retire. I know Andy Reid has already come out and said that he's not going to retire. He will be the coach of the Chiefs next year. Do we think that Russell Wilson is going to go to the Raiders and reconnect with Pete Carroll? That would be fascinating. Be very careful when you're on social media nowadays, everybody, because I am seeing 24/7. It feels like so many rumors pages that look really legit. I just saw one that was like, Russell Wilson officially no longer with the Steelers. So make sure you're just like double checking all of your facts. I always type into the search bar to make sure it's like coming up from other places. I feel like that happened with Bo Nix and his wife. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. Also, can we just imagine Sean Payton sitting at a resort in Cabo by the pool, sipping a Mai Tai or a margarita with Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and Zach Wilson? I cannot even picture that. Or all four of them on a golf course together. That just cracks me up. They are so close, and I'm so curious what the Broncos are going to do in the offseason with all of them, because you don't have to re-sign Jarrett Stidham. You paid him really nice to be the backup quarterback, right? He comes in. Russell Wilson's still going to be the starter. You're paying him $5 million a year for 2 years, $10 million deal. And you're like, all right, just in case Russ goes down, like we have Jarrett Stidham. So Sean obviously saw something in him, but is there any way that they actually can do 3 quarterbacks on the roster again? Like, would somebody come pick up Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham? If you have to cut one of them, I think you cut Jarrett Stidham. Zach Wilson's obviously a household name, so a lot of teams, I think, could look at him and be like, he's worked with Sean Payton now. I think that would be a great move. See what he's learned, see what he's done. I just don't know. It's also crazy to think that it's literally almost been a month since the Broncos lost their their playoff game against the Bills. Still heartbreaking. But that following day when Bo Nix talked to the media and he talked about his back, I just remember thinking, this kid loves to ball. And he's not really a kid, he's a full grown man, but he loves to ball. He was not going to miss that Monday night game. And we had no clue that he was dealing with an injury. It's just crazy. He's so fun to watch. The franchise QB is here. I'm so excited for everything that's going to come from it. Okay, so people are saying go Eagles because of Fangio. How about him? He just eats, sleeps, and breathes football, I guess. How weird would it be if Fangio was the defensive coordinator instead of Vance Joseph right now? That would be so wild. I'm starting to open up a little bit more to the fact the Broncos could go with a safety. I know. I don't think they're going to go wide receiver. I think that Sean Payton was totally telling the truth about that front. So I don't think we'll be seeing wide receiver in the draft. I do think that the tight end position is going to be the first one, unless both Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren go off the board somehow early. Could you imagine if the Chargers jumped the Broncos to get Colston? That would be crazy in itself. So I think it'll go tight end, and then I think they'll go running back. Is there any good running backs available in free agency? I haven't dug too much into it. I've been spending a lot of my time researching the running backs in the draft. That would be crazy, though. They have to make some moves, but offensively, I think they need a ton more help than defensively. But getting a safety and probably a young one would be good to have a little bit of depth for years to come. I don't really like the idea of going after one in free agency. For that position, inside linebacker, I could see them going free agency, right? You don't really want to have a young guy because then Alex Singleton will be back and he'll be fully healthy. So you don't want a guy that's going to take a year. You want one of those guys that's going to be ready immediately, can go in there, cause havoc, stopping the run game, the whole shebang, because Alex Singleton will come back. And he'll come back this year, but Sean Payton has really talked about the fact that it takes 2 years for a lot of those guys to actually develop and to come back and be ready to go after any sort of injury. So while he will be back this year, knock on all of the wood, and hopefully everything is healthy and rehab and everything's going really well for him, it's going to take another year for him to fully get back to who he was before, obviously, his injury. So I think they will go after inside linebacker in free agency. I think Sean Payton understands where he's at with his quarterback. They are a playoff team. They can make a serious push. I mean, heck, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, and the Broncos almost beat them. The last game of the season doesn't really count in my mind because obviously backups, it's okay, whatever. But they almost beat them in their first matchup. That blocked field goal will haunt me for the rest of freaking ever. And I do think it's going to be a one-possession game. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have the ball in his hand on the final drive. And I think that's how the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl this year, which, yes. My husband and his whole family are from Kansas, so they're big Chiefs fans. So it does hurt me a little bit in my soul because of Broncos, obviously, my Colorado roots and everything. But I just think that they're going to three-peat. And then the conversation is going to open up of, is Patrick Mahomes the GOAT? If he is and goes on to win 3 Super Bowls in a row, is he considered the GOAT, or who is still the GOAT in your eyes? Is it Tom Brady? Is it Joe Montana? Who is it? Let me know in the comments. I'm really, really curious. Do you think the Broncos will trade for Cooper Kupp? Okay, actually, we're going to come back to this in 1 second because I feel like we need to answer this. Desperately need an inside linebacker in free agency. I want to go inside linebacker, safety, and wide receiver in free agency, tight end, running back, and interior defensive line in the draft. Okay, so inside linebacker, I do think that they are going to go after in free agency for the reasons I just said of you don't have time to have this guy grow up and, figure it out in the league. You need him to be really, really good right off the bat. Safety would be interesting, but I do think that they'll go after that in the draft. Their secondary wasn't bad this year. Yeah, when Riley Moss left, obviously this isn't safety position. When he left, there was some more weaknesses for sure because you had those safeties that were trying to cover his end of the field a little bit more. But I could definitely see them going for that in the draft. Wide receiver, I don't think they're going to go after a wide receiver in free agency, which then opens us up to, do you think the Broncos will trade for Cooper Kupp? I do not think that the Broncos will trade for Cooper Kupp. I don't think they're going to go after T. Higgins. I do, however, feel that it is very, very strange that a week after the Rams and Sean McVay return from Cabo with Sean Payton and the quarterbacks, that Cooper Kupp is available and is going to be traded. That is very strange. I feel like we all have to agree on that. There's something fishy there that Sean was just yeah, you should probably get rid of him. I don't think that they're going to trade him to the Broncos, but I do think that Sean Payton had something to do with them moving on. there's something fishy there. I think there was some sort of conversation that had to be had, and they said, "Yep, nope, not feeling it." I'd be so disappointed with the safety in round 1. There's no way. There is 0% chance that is happening. There are so many other needs that this Denver Broncos team has. If they go safety in round 1, I have been very, very, very hard on George Paton. I thought that I even said it when they signed Russell Wilson to the extension before he played it down. I was like, why would you do that? You don't have to do that. I would be so disappointed for him. Do we need another vet for Bo? I think Marvin Mims grew exponentially this past year. I think Courtland Sutton proved that he can be a wide receiver number 1. I wonder, let's see. I know there were some odds of like what the money would look like for Courtland Sutton. Let's see what people are saying today on if Courtland Sutton got paid. I mean, he had a hell of a year, you guys. He had 86 receptions, which was a career high. He had almost 1,200 yards, which was a career high. 34 receptions of 15 yards or more, career high. 20 contested catches, career high. And he had 8 touchdowns. Like, he had a really good year. And that chemistry is only going to continue to build and build and build for him and Bo. So I think it's great. I'm trying to see if there's any money that's being talked about for Court. I think, too, that the locker room really respects Courtland Sutton. I think if he needs to be, he can kind of be that dog-like mentality, which is good for the Broncos. Let's see. Courtland Sutton contract. I don't remember. It was like projected to sign a 3-year, $72 million contract. Okay. $72 million is a little high. $25 million per year is a little high. That's all I'm going to say. Just a smidge high. I don't think he put up that kind of numbers, right? But I always did love the contested catches. Like, if he had to go out there and get it, I felt good about Courtland Sutton being able to bring it down. $25 million a year makes me a little cringe. I don't think I love that, but and I don't think that they would pay them. I really don't think that they would hand out that type of money because they are still having to pay some of the Russ money. I know it's not as much as they had to last year, but they are having to pay that. He wasn't special before. So talking about Alex Singleton. Alex Singleton, he was like such a downfield guy, right? Like, he was able to get tackles 6, 7, 8 yards off the line of scrimmage. So I understand why people weren't like exactly thrilled, but I do think that his leadership out there on the field was really, really important for the Denver Broncos. And I think that they desperately tried to figure out something else. So yeah, I mean, the edge is obviously really good. I think between Cooper and Benito, I'm going to be fascinated what he gets paid. I'm going to be absolutely fascinated. He just like blossomed. But so inside linebacker will definitely be one of those things that I'll be so curious to see what they end up doing. What else is new, you guys? I'm so curious. Again, we just don't talk like we all used to, which is like such a bummer. But they don't have any trade deadlines for the Nuggets, which is just crazy. Are they comfortable with where they're at? Can they make another championship run with Jokic? Can they do that? Can they come alive? That's the one thing. I give Jamal Murray a lot of smack, and I was a little concerned about the contract extension when they signed him. But he does show up in big moments, and he can make that last second shot. Do I need to see more from him than 10 points like he had last night? Absolutely. Does he need to be a big playmaker? Absolutely. But I don't know. Can they just come alive? Is it time to call for Booth to resign? So I talked about this when I first hopped on stream, and my whole thing is I just want to know how much the Cronkies are involved with what happens with the Nuggets. Like, is Josh Kroenke being like, nope, we're not making this trade, even if Calvin Booth wants to, right? Like, we heard there were rumors that Coach Malone wasn't agreeing with management, and management wasn't necessarily agreeing with Coach Malone. And so I just wonder how much of it is mixed feelings between both of them. I think that there is some truth to that. This trade deadline shows Malone and Booth don't want to be contenders. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they do want to be contenders. Okay, let's be so real. They do want to be contenders 100%. Hold on. I'm just over people today. I'm done listening to people. The trade deadline shows Malone and Booth don't want to be contenders. Listen to me when I tell you they do want to be contenders no matter what, but you have to look at the future and what the future holds. And I'm not saying they made the right move. Okay. I'm not saying 100%, but I try and put myself in their position of like, what exactly were they going to go out and get? How much cap room do they have? Like, what are they looking at the future? Like all of those things. Trust me, I get it. I want them to be contenders just as much as everybody else did. I'm kind of shocked, to be completely honest with you, that they didn't make any moves, but I am just really, really curious who's mainly calling the shots over there with the Nuggets. That's all I'm going to say on that. Hello, Rachel. Hello. Thanks for hanging. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. You guys, it's so crazy. I appreciate all the comments though coming in. It's fun to be back, and I can't believe it's almost been 30 minutes that we've been doing this now. Let's see if there's anything else here on Twitter. Oh, actually, okay, real quick, because it was kind of a big deal last night, and now I feel like nobody's really talking about it. The Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors. They're trying to get his. Okay, this is actually a perfect way, because I do believe that the Warriors are trying to get as much of Steph Curry's, prime, although I do think that he's on his way out of his prime, that they can. So it's like they're making big moves essentially to try and get that to work. And so I think people see that and they want the exact same thing for the Nuggets. And when they don't do it, I think it just breaks everybody's heart a little bit. But again, I just don't know who's really calling the shots over there with the Nuggets. I'm going to be very, very curious to see, any questions that get answered. Again, they play the Magic tonight, so Michael Malone will surely get some questions about them staying pat and not doing anything at the trade deadline. I'll be so curious to see what they do. Missed interacting with Rachel. Hi, how are you? I'm missing your comments too. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, it's been so fun. I'm so glad we did this. 30 minutes goes by way too freaking fast. Is there anything else that I'm missing that we haven't talked about? I just wanted to chat NBA trade deadline and Broncos. That's what I really wanted to do today. Talk about, obviously, the trade deadline ended 30 minutes ago. So it was interesting to see the fact that they didn't do anything. And then with the Broncos, obviously, with the Super Bowl, can you believe football's going to be over? I'm so sad. Oh, another thing we missed, since I'm just now sitting here. Melbourne, Australia for the international games. Have we lost our minds? I have such mixed feelings on the NFL and all of that kind of jazz. I really, really do, you guys. I have such mixed feelings because I love that other communities get to fall in love with the NFL the exact same way I have. But what player wants to go get on a plane to go to Australia to play a football game? Like, the time adjustment, let alone, just seems to be crazy. Why don't the Broncos get any international games? Seems like we always get passed over. So I think it's every 4 years that technically they have to host a home game that's an international game. But think about it. It was only 2 years ago that they went to London for a game. Like, it was 2 years ago that they were in London. They played the Jaguars. Justin Simmons had a pick in the end zone, but they ended up losing that game, and that's kind of when things went downhill very, very quickly for Russell Wilson. So I don't think that they're getting passed over. I just think I wouldn't want it. If I was a player, I wouldn't want it. I mean, even as a media member, don't get me wrong, I would love to go to Australia. Sign me up. Have my company pay for me to go to Australia. But then you're going out there, and it's, how long of a flight is that? From Denver to Melbourne, Australia. Hold on. That is a 21-hour flight. 21 hours. So you fly out there for 21 hours. You're there for probably 6 days and then you're on another 21-hour flight back. That is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I would hate to do that. If I was a player, I'd be so pissed. Media member, I'd be so pissed. I would just hate it all the way around. Should the Broncos get a Thanksgiving or Christmas Day game since the boring teams get the holiday? Since the same boring teams get the holiday games. I mean, the Broncos played a game on Christmas Eve the other year. Last year. Personally, for me, I don't like it. I kind of wish that they did kind of what the NHL does, where they just don't play games. Like they have kind of a week off so that everybody can be with their families. I mean, even for media members, it can be really hard. I spent my Christmas Eve, at the Broncos game. And while everybody else is like, there's so many people that go into it. Not only media members, not only players, coaches, staff, like everything, but think about the cooks that are at each stadium or the parking attendants that are there. Like there's so much that go into it, then people are missing out on holidays with their family. Now I totally understand that not everybody celebrates Christmas, but I do think it's a little bit of a bummer. So I'm not really like, don't sign me up for any of the holiday games. Denver to Australia, Rachel vlog coming soon. Oh my God, could you imagine how freaking fun that would be? But honestly, I think I would be a wreck. Like you would be so tired. Your body adjusting, it would just be exhausting. And that long, long flight. If you're not first class, I would be the biggest grump ever. I couldn't even do it. Let's see. Is that NFL does a game in Melbourne, Australia? Would it be a game and an up preseason counted as regular season like baseball does that sometime? No, I think that this would be an actual international game where one team would have to make it their home game for this season. I do think that the NFL is going to extend it to 19 weeks, though. I think that they're going to cut back on one preseason game. It is going to be the Super Bowl is going to be next weekend over President's Day, which I just think I know not everybody's a football fan. I totally think that the day after the Super Bowl should be a holiday. Nobody wants to go to work. We all stay up late. We're all sitting there talking. We're all hanging out, drinking, having fun, eating food, all of that. Nobody wants to go to work the next day. So I do like that idea that on President's Day, you're off and everything would be great. Plus, who doesn't want more football? But I do understand from a player standpoint if that's a really, really long season. I don't look at social media during the season. The media makes everything negative about a team like Bo getting mad at Sean Payton. I loved that Bo Nix yelled at Sean Payton. I truthfully did. I loved that he yelled at Sean Payton on the sidelines. Do we remember when Russell Wilson just stood there as Sean Payton yelled at him? I think it's great. I think that it shows the relationship that they have. I don't think it was a negative thing by any means. I think Bo was explaining, the frustrations that he probably had on the play. Who knows if it was a missed call? Who knows whatever it was? But I appreciate the fact that they could be that brutally honest on the sidelines. And Sean, you could tell, was kind of like, what the hell is going on? And then he turned around, but Bo was already gone and Bo was heated. I like that sort of relationship. I think it is good, especially in a game that is as high pressure, high, intensity as the game of football in the National Football League. So I'm totally here for it. I don't think it was a bad thing at all. So I think you should look at social media during the season. There's a lot of takes that I don't think would be that surprising anymore. I had actually asked on social media the other day, I'd asked on my Instagram, like, what do you guys feel like is missing the most in Denver sports media? Because a lot of it does all look the exact same. And, one of the things I've been saying recently is you scroll down your Twitter timeline and there's two boxes and it's two people talking because everybody can do it now. And it is great and there's so much content. And that's essentially what I'm doing right now is just getting on here and chatting. But I think that media eventually is going to also start to go in a different direction and it'll be fascinating. So I'm always curious, like, what more do you guys want to see? Because that's why we do this. This is why we have our jobs, is to be able to get this information out to you guys. I appreciate all the love on all of the vlogs all the time as well. We have so much fun. Sometime I'm coming to Colorado to see a hockey game. 10 out of 10 recommend. I actually prefer going to NHL games over NBA games. I think it's fun. My ears don't ring as much. NBA games are so loud. So highly recommend coming to see an Avs game in Colorado. Bo yelling at Sean sold me on Bo. Totally agree. The relationship, just the fact that he is that dog and he wants to play no matter what, sold me on him. The future is here. Hallelujah. No more rotation of quarterbacks. Does that mean they will keep all three, though? That's going to be my question. If the Nuggets somehow miss the playoffs, what do we think Malone's future will be? I don't know. I mean, I think if they completely overall miss the playoffs with Jokic, I think the future will be done right there. But I think if they make it and have an early exit, then we have a problem. You guys, I'm like so over people today. Yep, done. Goodbye. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think that if they ultimately do not make it into the playoffs, then I think Malone's future would be done. If they make it in and they have an early exit, I think Malone will be safe. I do think that they really like Michael Malone. I think the players really like Michael Malone. I think there's a lot of trust there, which is really, really big. But, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic. I do think that it's going to be really interesting to see what comes of that. I mean, essentially, with the Super Bowl right now, I mean, Nuggets and Avs playoff season is going to be here before we know it. Spring always goes by so fast. Avs games in person are so much fun. Yes, they totally are. I agree. Do you think that Patrick Surtain wins Defensive Player of the Year? I do think so. I think he'll be at the NFL honors tonight. So I do think that he will. I think that it is well deserved. Yeah. It looked like he had fun at the Pro Bowl and everything, but I think Marvin Mims also had fun. I don't really pay attention to like the NFL honors and all of that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just kind of like, okay, sounds good. Love that. But I do think that he could win Defensive Player of the Year. I do not think Bo Nix will win Rookie of the Year. I think that's going to go to Jaden Daniels as well, or Brock Bowers, one or the other. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. People are asking about my next steps. I promise as soon as I can say anything, I will absolutely do that. Real talk, I actually put this on my blog. If you don't follow me on my YouTube, you totally should. I do, daily vlogs almost, it seems like. So I always am like sharing stuff. But I got real on my last one, and I was like, if you would have asked me in February, that I still would not be working something right now, I would have told you that I would have been shocked, just because in November, I thought that I knew exactly where I was going. So it's been really interesting to kind of see the ups and the downs. But I also know that corporate America moves so freaking slow with everything. So I promise as soon as I can announce what I'm doing next, and when I have that in confirmation and signed on the dotted line, I will. But you guys, I appreciate you all so much for hopping on, and this was spontaneous, and there are still so many of you, and we're just sitting here chatting, and I appreciate all of the love that you guys have had for me, for my family, for my dog, like the whole thing. So thank you guys so much from like the bottom of my heart. I love that regardless of where I'm working, there's still clearly a passion for allowing me to sit here and talk sports, and you guys chiming in. So I appreciate that. I am going to hop off though. I will make sure there's nothing else going on Twitter right now before we do hop off. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Correct. Nothing. Although apparently Phoenix's locker room is toxic right now, but the Nuggets do not, in fact, get Kevin Durant. Dun, 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 dun. Interesting. Okay. Anyways, you guys, that's going to do it. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Truthfully, you guys mean so much to me, each and every single one of you. Subscribe to me on YouTube as well if you want to see some more of just like my personal life, along with all of my work stuff as well. So love you guys so much, and we will see you guys next spontaneous stream. Let me know if I should do this again, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody. Peace.